It's difficult because I went to the library today and I came close to being able to read Ernest Sternglass's book, Before the Big Bang, on the origins, plural, of the universe. Now, in a field in philosophy called hermeneutics, which just means analysis of text. It used to have a more specialized meaning of analysis and interpretation and reading of religious texts. But now it has a more broad meaning of interpreting any text. So if you picked up Winnie the Pooh and you started reading it and you said, well, why is this character named Eeyore? Or why is this character named Winnie? And so on, that would be hermeneutics. Like you'd be doing hermeneutics. But it's a fancy word, and it's an intimidating word to somebody. See, if I was in a conversation with Joe, I wouldn't go around going, hey man, let's do some hermeneutics. We'd just start talking about stuff. And really, the more I reflect on how critical and specialized vocabularies in the university and the words that we learn stand as much today, because one wants to be able to talk about anything that you learned about anything with anyone. That's the goal, to be able to kind of more or less communicate an idea to almost anyone that you could talk to. I had to say things like Galileo's pendulum and Galileo's pendular law and Newton's first law and so on, but anybody I spoke to, I could actually pick up my ring and put it around a string, and I could start swinging it, and I could show them what I mean by that. And that's why I like science, because I think science is something people can comprehend it if you show them. You can show them with experiments. And I like that because then they can come to understand, and they can participate in reflecting on it as well as you can. So it's not like, see, sometimes you can get into such technical vocabulary that you could only talk to about 10 people with it. But if you try to, in the last 7 or 8 years particularly, I've tried to purge the elements of my thinking from more metaphysical, more transcendent, even though I do still try to explain Plato. And I do believe that there's something of Platonism in what physicists are doing today, even though many of them would deny that they're Platonists, because some of them would say, what do you mean by that, Platonism? And I would just mean something like, today I recently explained in an email to one of my professors that he was responsible in causing me to convert from Kantianism to logical empiricism. I didn't go all the way. I didn't abandon that last Platonic element in empiricism, which is logical empiricism. It must be logical empiricism. It must have some logic behind it that organizes knowledge. Otherwise, empiricism, as Plato said, is you might discover a fact tomorrow that contradicts all the other facts, unless there's some logical unity that unites and unifies and makes intelligible those facts. Now, that doesn't mean you're ever holding... I like Quine in his philosophy of naturalized epistemology or naturalized knowledge. I hold on to the belief that even that fundamental logical structure that organizes all knowledge today in the sciences, that too can change. Logical truths, things that look like they're absolutely true. The philosopher Quine said, hey, you may have to give up something like the law of non-contradiction in the future, or you may have to give up some fundamental law of logic, and then that reorganizes your thinking. But Quine himself, he thought physics was, as he called it, the queen of the sciences, and so he believed in physics and he believed in math, and that those things are in nature. But this doesn't mean either that one has to deny a spiritual or poetic understanding of nature. I try to show in my writings how Newton was as capable of poetizing about what he knew, about his knowledge and his belief in God, which was very different. It might have been a deistic conception of God, where God put the clockwork of the universe together, and then it was up to man, it was up to us to kind of interpret what God's work and try to figure out as much of that mind of the ordered structure of reality as we possibly could. And that's in fact what I believe about Newton. That he might not have believed in a deity that was providential, but he certainly believed in a God that had infused the original creation of the world with an order and intelligibility that the human mind, his own and others, because he didn't deny that there were other people who gained knowledge in the sciences. He never said, I'm the only one who can understand. On the contrary, why would he have written the Principia, the mathematical principles of the system of the world, if he didn't want to communicate something of how nature worked to others? Now, for years ago, I heard that the philosopher John Locke, someone whom I think is extremely intelligent, said that Newton was beyond him. Like, he could not understand Newton. And so for years I said, I cannot understand Newton. So see, I just took it on. I took it on that if Locke is more intelligent than me, and Locke said he couldn't understand Newton, then I couldn't understand Newton. But on the other hand, I had remembered that Harry Gensler had said that if you can learn physics, you can learn logic. And I began wondering, but is it true that if you can learn logic, you could learn physics? And I began looking at Harry Gensler's work in logic. And I began thinking, wait a minute. If this guy can learn logic at this level, this guy'd be really good at physics. You know, and that was after I got some knowledge in physics, and I started to believe in myself. I started to believe that I could make progress. It happened in a strange way. I had a friend, Ray Messina, and he's a really cool guy, but he gets really intense when he gets into discussions about things. And we were at a party, and he was taking a position like that you could learn over time to be a physicist. And at that time, I did not hold that to be true. I held it to be true that if your mind was not able to do math, if you were one of those people like Laurita who says, I can't do math, I'm not good at math. And this isn't true. She's very good at logic. And it's been shown that logic and math are related. So she's actually good at math. But she says, I can't do math. I can't do math. You know, it's hard for her. She studied college algebra, and she probably got further than I would get if I took a course. And yet, in a sense, we both know math. You know, but today I think most people are like, they don't mean they can't do it. They mean they don't like to do it. Or they mean that no teacher that they ever listened to made it seem fascinating to them. You know, and I made 3 tries at logic. And I could have given up. The first time I had a teacher that he just couldn't make it comprehensible to me. And then I took a class with Vince Samar at Loyola, and I started to get it. I started to grasp it. And then I took Harry Gensler's class, 3rd time. I think I audited, and I sat in on one of his classes, and then I really got it, because he was a really good teacher at that subject. And Vince was also. But I'm saying, some of the students around here think they can't do math because they never encountered that teacher who really makes it kind of fascinating to them. And this is like a gift that some people have. It is also something that they develop over time. It's not something that you're not born with it. You're not born as good of a logic teacher as David Buller or Harry Gensler. You get good because you commit yourself to learning your subject so well that you can speak about it in a way that compels others to want to learn about it. And so that is, I think, also true. So basically, the idea is try to be able to communicate a truth to somebody in logic in a way they can understand. If I say something like, there's an argument called modus ponens to somebody will go, what's modus ponens? And then if I say, but that means if A then B, A therefore B, they still go, well, but what does that mean? Put something in that content. But then if I say to them, if today's Monday, then tomorrow's Tuesday. Today's Monday, they would say, therefore, tomorrow's Tuesday. And they would grasp that, see? They would grasp that that's a truth. But that it's not true today, because tomorrow is not Tuesday. And then if we can actually conclude, because it's a stronger relationship between the Monday-Tuesday argument, we could conclude that because if today's Monday, tomorrow's Tuesday, tomorrow's not Tuesday, we can even go the other way and say today's not Monday. So we can go in both directions with that one. A biconditional is a more appropriate connective for that one. But it's a strong condition to set up, if I were teaching logic, to teach people what if A then B, A therefore B means. See? And you could do it without ever telling them that what you just taught them was modus ponens, a form of argument that is valid. Or telling them if A then B, not B, therefore not A, is called modus tollens. If today is Monday, then tomorrow's Tuesday. Tomorrow's not Tuesday, therefore today is not Monday. See, they can see that immediately. So it's a matter of providing examples that people can grasp, and once you get that to them, once you convey that to them, they can see kind of how the reasoning goes, and they can grasp that. So I think that with respect to certain people in logic, they've learned so much logic that they can learn physics. If they can learn that much logic, they can learn physics. So we'd like to see Harry Gensler, because he has such a fine mind, we'd like to see him get into physics in the future. Maybe read Sternglass's book and say, what do I think of this? How can I organize knowledge in physics if he set out to do a computer program? And he set out to set forth all the theories today in physics and actually organize that knowledge. What could he bring out of it as someone who's not in that field? I looked at the way he organized Kant's moral system into a system of propositions, and the way he was able to show and demonstrate that you can derive some from others, and the way all the propositions were connected together. And I know that he uses computers that connect all the propositions in physics today. But I bet if he worked at the propositions and he organized them, he'd get more implicants from that, because he's really good. See? So he might surprise some physicists and come around the block and say, hey, did you consider this implication? Did you consider this implication? Did you consider this implication? Because physics has all these implications in it. Maybe, and sometimes, you study your material so long in a field that you feel like you're ready for something new. And that's the direction. That's why I'm pointing Harry Gensler, even though he's like, you're the one that needs guidance, Jeff, not me. But it's not guidance. It's just a friendly, hey, I can see talent, and I know talent when I see it. And I know that if Harry went into teaching grade school mathematics, or if he went into teaching grade school or 6th grade or 8th grade physics or high school physics, man, he would be good. See? Or David Bullard took up that up, he'd feel really confident teaching in that field. And so I try to point people sometimes in directions that I feel like, after reflecting, and I do think about it. I don't just throw it out there like I'm just saying something to say it. When I tell my friend Joe, you're really good at guitar playing, he really is good at guitar playing. And I feel that way. I'm not flattering people. I do not flatter people. If I don't think you're good at something, I usually either don't express my opinion, but if you ask me, I will try to express the truth to you. And I don't try to beat around the bush in that way, unless it's something where I think it's dangerous to me to tell the truth or something like that. Only in situations like that. But normally I'll give you my opinion, and this is my genuine opinion. In this case, with respect to these individuals.